Hey guys, it's Balloon here. In this video, I'll be teaching you guys how to identify the transition phase. The transition phase is very important because it is what will enable you to avoid a lot of deaths and proceed to a smooth early game. The transition phase is basically the phase that separates the laning phase and the early game phase, and it's detected by knowing how much stronger the enemies are compared to you in the lane. This is usually occurring once the enemy offlaner hits level 6. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is a scenario where it's a Riki against a Slardar matchup. Riki is level 5, Slardar is level 5. Slardar is a bit low, like 3/4 health, but he has a Snapfire beside him. So Riki is alone without his support here. So what this scenario will explain is, it'll explain what a transition wave is, based on how survivable this Riki is to take this wave from this Slardar. Whether or not he's able to do this in front of him or has to do it away from him. So without explaining further, I'm just going to play out the scenario and let's see if you guys are able to sort of identify what the transition wave actually means. Transition wave and transition phase, pretty much the same thing. Okay, so just from that scenario itself, the transition wave simply means if you are not allowed to take a creep in front of them, based on how survivable you are, when the offlaner starts hitting their dangerous point, usually by level 5 or level 6, you need to know that you're not allowed to run in, take a creep, and still sit in lane. You're only allowed to take the lane to take the creeps if you're under your tower, behind the safety of your tower, provided you have health all the time. So let's just rewind this a bit and see what this Riki could have done better. Okay, so this Riki needs to know that this Slardar is hitting his 6th soon. And he's in a 2v1 scenario where he does not know where the snap is. So he has to assume the Snapfire is beside the Slardar, because we always have to play for worst case scenario unless we have enough information of what's going on in the lane. Right? So what we know is a Slardar has a stun. We know a Snapfire also has a stun and a slow. And in addition to that, we do not have movement speed on this Riki. But this guy has movement speed on Slardar. That means he has chase ability. So if the moment this guy hits level 6, Riki needs to know that it's not allowed to be in lane. Right? This is what the transition phase means. Once you no longer feel comfortable in lane, you are no longer allowed to sit in lane. The only waves that you're allowed to take in lane are waves that are near your tower, meaning behind this line. Any creeps that are beyond this line, you are not allowed to take. If you want to take, it has to be through forms of creep aggro, under the safety of your tower, or even if you're not allowed to creep aggro, you will wait for the wave to push to you. Now that the Riki has died, a Primal Beast came to his lane, ganked for him, and killed the enemy offlaner Slardar. So this leaves Riki with two options. Because his laning phase is already done, the moment any of your ally comes to your lane and ganks for you, you should already be looking to go to their lane, so that will signify the end of your laning phase. Okay, this will happen around 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on your hero, depending on your survivability. So for example, a Lifestealer, because he's a lot more survivable with Rage immunity, Juggernaut with Spin immunity. Lifestealer also has the ability to regenerate a lot of health in lane based on lifesteal, like a Slark with ult regeneration. All these are quite lane dominant heroes. They will be staying in lane longer because they will not get kicked out by the enemy offlaner, simply based on their ability to survive. So heroes like Riki, Phantom Assassin, Drow Ranger, heroes that cannot survive because they have no escapes, you need to know that you should not be allowed to be in lane once the enemy offlaner hits 6. So since an ally ganks for you, you would ideally be looking to go to their lane. Okay? Unless the ally that came to gank to you TP'd back to his lane. So let's say if this Primal attempted to gank and TP back to his lane, then the Riki, in this case, will come back to this lane, push the wave out, and start jungling. But in this case, because Primal actually TP'd down here, and he has no TP, that means Riki will now attempt to go up to his lane, because that's treated as an open lane. Okay, so right now what Riki has are two options. Number one, he goes to top lane and starts farming this wave. Or number two, he goes to jungle and starts farming this camp. The laning phase has ended, the early game phase has started, so everything in early game phase has to lean towards building to become unkillable. So wherever your teammates are, he has to avoid. Currently, top lane is the only thing that is avoiding his teammates. Jungle is the only thing that's avoiding his teammates. So we only have to consider which is safer, which has more impact. Right now, I would not actually consider top lane to be safe because it's very close to their tower. Bringing up the concept of the transition phase, anything that is beyond the line of your tower like this, and like this, you should know you're not allowed to cross unless you are able to identify where all your threats are. If a wave is not near your tower or under your tower, do not attempt the wave unless you know what is behind the wave. Okay, so let's play this scenario out. So Riki actually did the right thing, he TP'd top. However, like I said, if he wants to take this wave, he needs to consider the safety of this wave. So he needs to know, okay, Slardar is spawning in 8 seconds. Where is this Snapfire? Where is this Invoker? The moment I show myself, I need to know that I can survive this wave. So if he's unable to survive it, he should not be showing in this wave. Instead, what he should be doing is farming this camp or farming this camp. If he farms this camp, he will be simply connecting whatever is closest to him that will eventually bring him back to the bot lane. And then he will push it out and leave to jungle and repeat this pattern again. But since he selected top lane, which again is not the wrong move, it's simply a bit more dangerous, he will be farming these camps until the wave pushes back for him to come under his tower here. Or another way to tackle this is this guy will actually attempt to scan the wave. The scan will guarantee that whatever is here is safe, because the scan will cover a range of about 900. So everything around this tower, the scan will tell him that it's safe. If he has no scan, another way to do this is he can attempt to global aggro if any heroes are present and pull the wave all the way back, so he farms it safer. That way he does not have to miss out on creeps like waves. Okay, so again, let's play this scenario out. Now he knows Slardar is spawning in 5 seconds, in 4 seconds. If this Slardar was any good, he will already immediately be TPing down here, and he'll be calling a Snapfire to come with him or any +1. Okay, and then they'll attempt to smoke and run in and kill this guy like this, simply because the Riki is showing. So he cannot show like this, because it's too close to your tower. Alright? So in this scenario, Slardar actually attempted to go down. Slardar TP'd down and go to this primal. If this Slardar was any good, like I said, he will already be coming to kill this Riki and calling someone with him. So these are things that you shouldn't get away with. They are things that will create bad habits in you. Always prioritize survivability, prioritize farm, prioritize where you know is safe. Do not farm forwards. Do not show yourself if you do not know where your threats are. Okay, so what we have here is a matchup of Drow against a Night Stalker. Again, a very dangerous offlaner, Once it hits level 6 or it starts turning night, you need to know that you are always in threat of dying, because if this guy starts running into your face with a +1, high chance you're going to get chased all the way, even under your tower you are going to die. So that means this guy will need to know that he's no longer allowed in lane. So this is identified as the transition wave, where he'll proceed to push the wave out and leave the jungle. He will only return to the wave if the wave pushes into his tower. Let's say the wave is all the way out here beyond this line. This Drow should not be able to return to lane or take the wave. And most, if he wants to take the wave, it's in the form of multi-shot, clear the wave, and he has to move. So what happens is, because the Drow, even after Night Stalker has hit level 6, the Drow is still sitting in lane and being close enough for this guy to run her down. She should know that she will die anytime, because all it takes is this Night Stalker to pop an ulti, to run her down with the hook wing. Immediately this guy will die. So the amount of fear that you need to have as a safe laner into off laners once they hit level 6. Of course, there will be some off laners that are more specific, they are stronger, like a Night Stalker at 6, a Tide Hunter at 6 with Ravage, an Enigma at 6 with Black Hole, a Magnus with RP at 6, a Doom at 6, a Pudge at 6, even a Legion at 6. These are all very dangerous level 6 offlaners that will already tell you, okay, my lane is done, I need to get ready to leave. Because any longer you sit in lane, the chances of you dying is going to be very high. Of course, we will always take into consideration advantage in terms of whether or not we have a partner with us, our post 5, whether or not they have a partner with them, health advantage, movement speed advantage, items advantage, and all this stuff. So it's based on your rationality, being able to judge whether or not you are able to survive the lane, whether or not you will die in lane. So if there are 2 heroes present at the enemy side, and you find yourself alone in scenarios like this, you should know that you're not allowed in lane anymore, because anytime anyone pops a spell on you and stuns you, you will die. So let's play this scenario out. So notice how this Night Stalker did not even attempt to kill this Drow. Because the Night Stalker was so he was unable to identify that he was strong enough to run this guy down. A very good player, the first thing they would do is immediately they would just pop an ult and run this guy down already, and this guy probably dies like somewhere under his tower. So this is in an ancient bracket. A lot of things that the players do at low MMR, you guys are not getting punished enough for it, right? That's why you need to understand what you can and cannot do. So a lot of times what happens to a lot of my students is they tend to get away with too many things, that bad habits, bad fundamentals, bad understanding is created in their games. So just understanding this one thing, the transition phase that ends your laning phase and starts your early game phase, is going to help you a lot. This is a scenario where it's a level 4 Luna against a level 4 Pudge that's not even at full health. Key, Pudge only level 4. So you need to understand when Pudge is strong in lane. Pudge is strong once he gets level 6 or once he gets his Vanguard and runs us down, or runs his Luna down. That means this Luna's job right now is supposed to be to hold the lane outside his tower, not to let the lane come in like this until the Pudge hits level 6, or until the Pudge starts posing a threat to him even before 6. That means this Pudge has to be like Vanguard level 5, Luna has to be really low. That will identify that, okay, his transition phase starts when the Pudge is in that state of strength, right? But currently, the Pudge is only level 4, he's only level 4. So if he attempts to push this out and leave right now, what he's doing is he's going to be farming the camps really slowly, and he's also going to speed up what his transition phase should be. Where in reality, his transition phase should have started when he's about level 6 or like 5.5. At like 7 minutes or 7.5 minutes, it started at like 5.5 because he attempted to push the wave out. So this is an example where it's demonstrated wrongly, where you do not want to push the wave out too early and speed up the transition phase, because you will be unable to farm the early game phase fast enough, because you do not have the right preparation in terms of spells and items yet. As a Luna, this will be a Luna with at least a power threat and like 1 or 2 points in glaze before she should attempt to push out the lane and leave like this, right? As a result of what the Luna is doing here, let's play out the scenario and see what is going to happen. So notice the effect of pushing out the wave so early. The Luna went to jungle like this. This should only be done when Luna is about level 5 or level 6, ideally level 7 with like a power threats and morbid mask or something like that. So if he's allowed to stay in lane, he should have stood in lane, because the amount of farm that this guy will get from jungle right now will not equate to the amount of farm that he can get in lane. Even if it's in the form of sapping XP, it's going to be way more than what he's doing here. Unless, of course, he's not even allowed to sap XP, sit in trees, because the post 4 on their side is like hunting him all the time. Let's say that's like an Undying, a Clockwork, a Task, and Luna is left in like a 1v2 scenario, then yes, he will start doing something like this, because he's forced to do it. But in this scenario, he was not forced to do it. He willingly pushed the wave out, and even when he should have moved up to take XP by sitting in trees like this, get his level 5, get the glaive, then only attempt to start doing this. He started doing this without the glaives. So just to take note that if you aren't able to farm the jungle yet, you haven't hit your flash farming ability yet, you aren't at danger of leaving the lane yet, always make it so that the wave is frozen outside here. If it comes under your tower, you need to attempt to pull it out with creep aggro if you're allowed to. Or if you're not allowed to pull it behind, like outside your tower, you'll attempt to pull it all the way past the tower. All this just so that your creeps, their creeps will stay alive long enough so that you're always under the safety of your tower. Right? You will have to attempt to do this until they become strong enough that you will even die under your tower. Let's say the Pudge is 6 with a Vanguard, then yes, definitely, even under your tower, you will not be allowed to stay. So you will push the wave out and you'll leave after and start doing all this. So what he's doing right now should only have started about 7 minutes or like 7.5 to 8 minutes. He started 2 minutes earlier. That means that's 2 minutes amount of time wasted hitting all his camps when he could literally just be in lane right now, sapping XP like this, taking farm for free. Or the worst outcome, worst come to worst, he just sit in the trees and get XP, get his level 5.5 or level 5, and then only start doing this. Okay, so I hope that explains the transition phase, how to handle, or rather what to do when enemy offlaners start becoming a threat to you, how to identify open lanes after your transition phase. If there's no open lanes, then you will start jungling like this. Right? You will return to lane only when the lane pushes back to you before this line, push the wave out and you return to jungle again, because anything that's beyond this line will kill you. Even sometimes before this line, like I say, if Pudge is 6 with Vanguard, you will also die. If they attempt the tower, just leave the tower, it's fine. Okay. So to wrap things up, the laning phase will last until the offlaner becomes really dangerous to you, usually by level 6, or even before 6 if you have no health and no sustain, or after 6 if you have enough health and sustain and the enemy offlaner is not that dangerous even past 6. Like a Lifestealer is not afraid of a Timbersaw, but a Lifestealer is afraid of a Doom at 6. So Lifestealer might leave the lane if Doom is 6, but Lifestealer might not leave the lane if Timbersaw is 6. So all this comes down to your own judgment and calculating the risk versus reward as to whether or not you can stay in lane. Because whether you like it or not, the lane will always give you more than the jungle until you hit the ability to flash farm. And we know that most heroes, before like the span of 10 minutes, they will never be able to farm jungle faster than you farm the lane. So sitting in lane for as long as possible, trying to shut the enemy down before they get to their 6 is always crucial in order for you to win most of your games. Because the lane will more or less make or break your game. Right? It will ease the transition into the early game phase. And the faster you're able to get this down, I guarantee that most of your games, the amount of deaths that you have in lane will be severely reduced. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.